Welcome to the final video in the Mathscraft series of constructing the Menger sponge. By the end of this video, you should have been able to construct your own Menger sponge. In the first video, you learned how to construct a cube, which is the building block of the Menger sponge. In the second video, you learned how to join two cubes together. In the third video, you learned how to apply cladding to a cube. In this video, you're going to put all of that together and make a Menger sponge. The trickiest part about assembling the sponge is the cladding. It's really tempting to go ahead and join all the cubes together and apply the cladding last. But if you do that, it will be really difficult to apply the cladding inside the holes. It's really hard to get your hand in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply the cladding as we go, and we'll show you at each step where you should apply cladding. So let's look at the Menger sponge without its cladding on. You can see that it's made up of 20 cubes, and there are various ways to put the cubes together to make a Menger sponge. You might have your own ideas, and you're welcome to give those a go. I'm going to show you one technique that we use in Mathscraft that works pretty well. So if you look at the top of this sponge, it's made up of 8 cubes in a square shape. So we're going to start by making a square of 8 cubes, but we're going to make sure that we clad the inside of the hole as we go, because this is very hard to do afterwards. Start by joining 3 cubes together. So this is going to give you one side of your square. So that means that this central cube here, this face is going to be inside the hole. So you want to take a piece of cladding and you want to apply it to this face. If you can't remember how to do this, review the last video where we go through it in detail. Keep adding cubes to make your square, and just make sure that you add cladding to the faces as you go. You can even add the cladding to the cubes before you join them together. When you finish, you should have this. It's a square of 8 cubes, and we've got cladding on all the faces of this central hole. Make 2 of these squares of 8 cubes. Okay, so let's pause for a moment and go back to our unclad sponge and have a look at how it's put together. We've just made 2 of these, so you can think of it as making the top and the bottom of your sponge. We have a bit more cladding to go though, because we've clad this hole, but if we turn it over, we can see that this is the side of your square of 8 cubes. We actually have a hole here, a hole here, a hole here, and a hole here. So that means we have 4 cubes whose faces are going to be in holes. So then you need to apply cladding to those 4 cubes to make sure that when we put it together, the cladding in the holes is already done. Now that you have your 2 squares of 8 cubes with the cladding in place, we need to look at how to join them. So if this is the top, one of your squares, and this is the bottom, the second of your squares, if you look at them, they're joined together by 4 cubes, and we call these cubes posts. So let's look at how to join those on to one of your squares of cubes. So take one of your squares of 8 cubes and this is going to form the bottom of your Menger sponge. And to each of the 4 corners we're going to attach another cube, and these will form the posts between the top and the bottom of your sponge. So a post looks like this. It's just a cube that's had cladding applied to 2 faces. The other 4 faces are unclad. And you will attach it like this so that the clad sides of the post are going to end up in holes of the finished Menger sponge. It's tempting to clad the outside of the post at this time, but it's best to leave that unclad so that you can pop the tabs open to help with joining. Once you've attached your 4 posts, this is what you should have. Your square of 8 cubes is on the bottom, and your 4 posts are attached to the 4 corners of your square. Okay, in this last step you're going to join your remaining 2 pieces together. So the tops of the 4 posts are going to join to these 4 squares. To do this, it's easiest if you take the top and join, using the technique that we've used before to join cubes together, join these 2 cubes on the right together and these 2 cubes on the left together at the same time, and then hinge your lid shut. Then you just need to join the 2 cubes at the front. So the post here and the top cube, and the post here and the top cube. And then it will be completely finished in terms of joining. You don't have any more joins to make, but you'll notice that only inside of the holes is clad. So the final step in making a Menger sponge is to apply cladding to the outside of the sponge using the tabs. Once you finish that, you have a complete Menger sponge. Mathscraft in a Box was made possible by an Unlocking Curious Minds grant, so big thanks to Curious Minds. It was also proudly supported by the University of Canterbury, Te Pūnaha Matatini, the Department of Mathematics at the University of Auckland, and the New Zealand Mathematical Society. Mathscraft in a Box is a Mathscraft New Zealand production.